June 30, and we are in Martinique. Tropical storm, or might be Hurricane Elsa, is approaching the Caribbean arc, and Martinique is expected to be in the most dangerous northern quadrant of the hurricane. Strong winds up to 80 knots could happen here in the bay.
We have only 1 or 2 hours to make the decision if we stay or go, and half a day to prepare the boat for the long trip, because the hurricane will be here in 2 days. Just enough time to sail very fast south out of the reach of the hurricane. This is Tali from Russia.
This is Gunther from Austria. Come with us. This morning I woke up, looked at the forecast, which was already not promising, and when I read updates from National Hurricane Center, from different weather model, so it was even 5 o'clock, but it was no sleep in my eye anymore, and apparently the decision will be that we must leave tonight.
The forecasts are pretty bad. The eye of whatever it will be a tropical storm, it could be a hurricane category 1 or category 2. They are not sure. The weather forecast is very, very different. We came to Martinique for technical reasons and for medical reasons, and I know it's not good to be in end of June in a place where a hurricane can come. But it is like it is, and now we are leaving and we go as fast as we can to Colombia. And in half an hour we will go. It's raining, the wind is between 5 knots and 29. So we will go with 2 reefs in the beginning in the St. Lucia channel that we are prepared for every bed, and reef out is easier than put a reef in. It's around 9 o'clock in the evening. We left Martinique at 4:30 p.m. Normally when I go to sea, I want to be a bit prepared, mentally prepared, but today it was a bit hectic. To decide if you stay or not, it's a hard decision. You go out in bad weather, it is raining constantly, in the moment only drizzling, but outside in the cockpit everything is wet. Now after some hours, pretty rough seas here in the St. Lucia channel, like usual. After some hours now, I get used to it, get used to the motions, a bit tired from all the daily stress, but it's okay.
Our tactic is not to go straight to Colombia, but to go fast south, near to the Venezuelan coast, to be out of the reach of the hurricane. Under these conditions, we are happy to have fast performance catamaran. We have 2 reefs in and we are still doing 10 knots. These reefs are necessary for squalls. At night it was pitch dark outside. Sky was completely overcast and you didn't see a star, you didn't see for sure approaching squalls. But with 2 reefs we were good enough, up to 35 knots of wind. With a slow catamaran you have 2 choices. To put in 2 reefs and you are too slow for approaching hurricane. Or you can go with full sails and have a risk to be damaged in the squalls. We always read in Facebook groups, why should I sail fast? That's the wrong question. We sail fast away from the hurricane and we are still safe in squalls.
She said I have to smile now into the camera. It's hard with the sun in the eyes. So it's day 2, blue skies. Half an hour later you see the squalls surrounding us, but we were never really hit till now by one. I don't know, is this already the hurricane stretching out its fingers to us, or it's just normal weather? We have a lot of waves because there's a lot of current here going east-west, so the sea is pretty agitated.
I'm still thinking on our friends who decided to stay there in St. in Martinique. I don't know, maybe we are overcautious. We never know. And we will know it a bit later when we come to Colombia. But I still worry about them, how they will stay there, if they will be safe or not. So, finger crossed that everything will be fine with them.
It's the second night. Very squally weather. We are making 3 knots. 2 minutes later we are making 12 knots for about 10 minutes. Then the squall is over and we go back to 3 or 4 knots drifting along the Venezuelan coast. A lot of fishing boats, so have to be a bit careful. So our weather forecast is 2 days old. If the tropical storm, hurricane, whatever it will be, we don't know because we have no actual weather here. But if it does, like the weather forecast said, it will reach the island chain today, maybe now. And so we went now for some hours south, that we are more out of all these turning things. And now we go west along the Venezuelan coast. Some people say it's dangerous because of pirates, but I think a hurricane is much more dangerous than pirates. So we say hello to the pirates and bye-bye to the hurricane. So we will see what the weather will do. Normally with these big systems, the wind systems are completely broken. So we will see what happens. It may be that we have northerly winds. It may be that we have later southerly winds. Even if we are unlucky, southwesterly winds. We will see what happens. depends how big the system got in the last 2 days. As more big, as more far away the influence of all the weather systems.
So we were leaving Martinique so fast. I went for the fast shopping and I forgot to buy bread. So now I need to make bread. Yes, and I'm making today Indian flat bread naan.
So, good morning. It's, by the way, the third morning. So the wind made a totally turn overnight. We had easterly winds the whole time now. Then the wind stopped. We had shortly no wind, and we had even westerly winds, so on the nose, but luckily not strong. And then it was the whole night south winds, very light. And now it's turning back slowly to southeast, and the wind gets strong again.
Fried rice will be tonight for dinner with mixed vegetables. Something what we can cook very fast and not so dangerous.
One 1:30 in the morning, while we changed watch, we turned the boat around to the other course. On a catamaran, you never go with the wind dead behind you. You always go zigzag. You are much faster in this way. Wind dead ahead on a catamaran, maybe if you run a normal spinnaker, but otherwise you always tag in front of the wind. Today we have Indian naan bread with Greek tzatziki made out of our homemade Turkish yogurt. Isn't this international cuisine? So it's the fourth night. We are pretty slow, 6-7 knots. There's not much wind outside. We are passing now Bonaire, one of the first ABC island, and it's always fascinating in the night when it's dark outside how far you see the lights of an island. So we pass the island in a distance of about 20 miles, 40 kilometers, and you see clearly on the horizon a shine of light. I had an hour less sleep this morning because we wanted to put a reef, a second reef in the main and the Genoa, because this cape we are rounding now is very well known for accelerating winds, big waves.
It's very good at the reefs, by the way. We have between 21 and 23 knots. I think with two reefs it's very okay now, and very comfortable, by the way. And we are doing steady 9 to 10 knots. Could be a bit more if you don't reef, but I would prefer to stay a bit more comfortable. Autopilot stopped, and sure it was in the worst part of this trip, in this around this cape, which is notoriously bad for high seas, strong winds, a lot of current, and it was definitely at night, so everything together.
Sailing is fun, repairing is fun, so it was a bit of a burden. The boat goes immediately out of the course, and it's not easy to bring it back. The sails are backing and so on. Luckily we have a preventer on the main boom, so otherwise you risk your rig in situations like this. After we mounted the spare Autopilot, I repaired the main one, and now the spare one stays mounted just in case, and the main one is running perfectly again. What a pleasure. But it was a lot of work yesterday. Work from the morning to the evening. And in these seas it's a bit It's a very sophisticated thing. It looks like it's built in the 50s. It's a wheel pilot, but it works absolutely wonderful. And to every cruiser or somebody who wants to start to cruise, never leave port without the second Autopilot. This is absolutely mandatory. You can forget all this electronics and this and that, where you normally spend tons of money, but spend money on a second Autopilot. This one is a cheap one and it works. All these high electronic things where you can connect the coffee machine and the toilet and the navigation and whatever, forget all these things. They are absolutely expensive and a lot of them don't work. You want to have maybe a good main Autopilot, but as a spare I can highly recommend this one. It's from CPT in America, and I have no connections to the company. The only connection is when I bought this pilot, I got support from the guy who sells it. This was just marvelous. I've never seen in my boating life a support like this. I had before auto helms, ray marines, wheel pilots, and they all are, if they overload, some of them are just exploding, some the belt is slipping, I don't know. It doesn't, my experience is they don't work when you need them. You don't need them in 15 knots of wind, but you need them when it's tough. So yesterday night, around, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock, a huge wave was breaking into the cockpit, but not only into the cockpit, it went in and we had tons of water in the boat. And I'm sailing catamarans now since 25 years. I never ever had a drop of water inside. It is spray in the cockpit, sometimes you hit a wave, it goes up and with the wind it comes into the cockpit. But you could see the water just splashing in. And we had the door open and yes, this meant about 2 hours of cleaning, pulling out the water. It ran down into the hulls for sure. It was, the whole salon was swimming. And after 2 hours we had the water out and then we had to clean it with fresh water because otherwise it's salty and stays salty and you are just sliding in there. And again, in 25 years of catamaran sailing, this never happened to me, but in this shit, breaking waves here, it happened first time. So the rest of the night we had the doors closed. For sure, no one of these waves appeared again, but we were a bit, after 2 hours of working hard instead of sleeping, we didn't want to have it a second time. So we are now approaching Cartagena already. The sun is not really up, but the sky gets already orange and the wind is down. It was a pretty horrible night. We had up to not too much wind, 25, 26 knots of wind. This was not too bad, but the swell was horrible. So as soon as we came around the corner here, the wind is down and we actually have to motor in direction Cartagena entrance.
Calling for control, channel 14 please.
This is sailing yacht Umadum. We are about 3 miles in front of the small yacht's entrance. Over.
Okay, copy. Please repeat sailing vessel yacht, the name?
The name is Umadum. Uniform Mike Alpha Delta Uniform Mike. We are coming from Martinique. We would like to get permission to go to Club Nautico Anchorage. Over.
Okay, copy. How many persons on board?
2 persons on board.
Okay, sir, you can continue your entrance to the channel.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, sir, you're welcome. Stand by channel 16 all the time.
Okay, stand by 16.
Cartagena, skyscrapers and domes and old walls. We made it. To be honest, it was not the best hour trip. I mean, it was so many difficult things, like things which got broken, like water what we have nearly everywhere first time. Wind from all 360 degrees. Level swell, especially yesterday. Yesterday's swell was so huge, so big. But now you see everything calm, no swell, no wind. But now we are in Cartagena Bay, nice and quiet. Welcome to Colombia.